All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. We got a big show lined up for you today. After this, we're going to have our guy Denzel Burke, Buckeye corner, senior. Had a great freshman year, a little bit of a sophomore slump. He'll get into that, kind of how he pulled out of it and what he's been able to get done. Another former Buckeye who Joshua called said he'll get his chance back in the NFL. He's going to find a way back. Well, he did, and he got his opportunity, and very, very excited for him. We're getting some more Buckeye football players inducted into the Ohio State Athletic Hall of Fame. We got questions from listeners, and there's something out there. Beer prices in college stadiums. Who's the highest? Who's the lowest? Where does Ohio State come in? Is there anything that's too high? And then also we've got some bets with our friends at Tipico. We got a game 7 coming up in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Historic 3 wins in a row. I
Yeah.
watched the game Friday night, Joshua. It was wild, man.
I don't know if anybody honestly was rooting for Florida in that game. I think we all wanted to see the game 7, and here we are. And not a huge hockey fan, but I'm like fully enveloped in the Stanley Cup final.
I don't know. I mean, there like any real hockey, true hockey fans in Florida, like Edmonton. I mean, this is life, dude. Like those people would probably give a child for a Stanley Cup. It's been
Dude, I
34
mean,
years.
yeah, they haven't. I mean, in my lifetime, Canada has not had a cup. So, like, they definitely want to get it. And Florida is interesting because you don't think it's a huge, but like, with the money that's down there,
Yeah.
there's a lot of kids that are getting into the hockey. So it's an interesting thing.
We talked a little bit about this last week, but want to let everybody know I've got some big news here at Big Play. They have bought a racehorse, giving listeners an opportunity to get involved. Anyone who's interested, owning a share of it can do so by going to My Racehorse's website or app, or by buying shares for just $60 each. Our horse, it's a 2-year-old colt who shares a trainer with Preakness champion Sees the Gray. Be sure to follow along as we choose a name for it and watch its journey as it becomes a 3-year-old to qualify for the Kentucky Derby next year. Um, Big news this week, Joshua. Ryan Day, had a lot of camps, a lot of official visits, stuff going on, golf outings, doing the CEO stuff. Talked a little bit about Caleb Downs maybe taking some snaps at running back this year. It took everybody by shock a little bit, but he did play running back in high school. He's a guy that returned punts at Alabama, and I would say did so quite well. Kind of Chip joked about it a few months ago. Your thoughts?
I'm conflicted because I think when you've got a guy with his skill set, you try to utilize him however you can to win football games. It's obviously going to be a big year for the Buckeyes. Um, I think it's good from the standpoint of now other teams have to say, okay, what are we going to do if we see this guy in the game offensively? I don't want to see it. I want to see him straight up playing safety, doing his thing, impacting the game that way. And I think that'll be more than enough for Ohio State to be successful.
It'll be interesting. We got Denzel Burke coming up. We'll ask him about Caleb and everything that he brings to the table. But the dude's got elite athleticism. Here's the one thing: I don't think it would be bad for him to maybe return some punts and have a familiarity with the offense. Because here's the problem: they've got a couple of really good young running backs, a couple of
Yeah.
freshmen, and then you have like Gap, where Dallin Hayden was, who would have been that third guy getting a lot of run. And so you're going to get those freshmen. They're going to get a ton of work, I'm sure, early in the season. But you obviously have Travion Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins, two dudes who are really elite. But if one of them gets nicked up or something and you're in an incredibly tight game, I don't know if like you're going to feel all that great going to a true freshman who maybe hasn't played a whole bunch. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out here is it an emergency situation? Do they maybe package him and have him like handful of plays in a game here or there? Because Joshua, being a defensive guy, that gives defensive coordinators just something else to prepare for that they wouldn't be working on otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, coaches are the most paranoid people in the world. Like they try to find any edge that they can in the game. So to that point, yes, if you had to say, okay, what is our personnel grouping going to be defensively if Caleb Downs is in on offense? What are our schemes and concepts going to look like? how do we project that would change the game for Ohio State? Do we expect this guy to be somebody where they can drop back and he's going to be in pass pro? Do we expect him to be a route runner? Or are they just going to turn around and hand off the football? So, I mean, they're asking a million questions and they're trying to find answers to it. I think that's a big benefit of putting something like this out there. But the idea is hopefully between the top two guys you have on the roster, you don't need to throw them back there.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that they're going to like, want to do or a regular diet because people start talking about, two-way guy. I'm like, I'd like to see him return some punts, because
Yeah.
he's electric with the ball in his hand, and that's something you can just kind of practice with the returners beforehand. If they have a package where there's a handful of plays, like I don't know if I'm necessarily against it just because Joshua, like you said, that added element, like go have their D coordinators chase some ghosts if you want.
All right, but you played with Chris Gamble here
I
and
did.
two-way guy. How hard is that? Like, how hard was it for him?
So, I mean, and so it's a little bit different because usually I guess Woodson was, a corner playing offense. Usually it's your corners. And so corner, it's a little bit easier mentally. I mean, I don't want to tell Denzel Burke that next, but like you're on the edge, you're playing man, like you've got your
Right.
guy or you're in this deep position. When you're in the middle of the defense, depending on how you're rolling coverages, two deep versus single high, there's a lot more stuff that can potentially go on. So he has a lot more on his plate mentally already. Now he's a very sharp kid and he studies the heck out of the game, but like CG, dude, it was like it was a JBD situation, like just ball dog. Like we're gonna put you out there. We ran a lot of single high. You're just gonna
Uh,
go take away that guy, and we play man. You got it. We'll play some single, two or three deep. Didn't run a lot of like him sitting down, and so he would. He had a good story about it too. He played receiver before, and so they still work him in there, and he returned punts as well. But I mean, Chris was also a guy that South Florida dude that you've been around these guys, Joshua, that could like run for
yep.
days. Like I
Yes.
mean, it was like, dude, you go run a marathon and then come to practice. Like it wouldn't bother him. Just very naturally gifted athlete. And not that Caleb's not, but he's like a bigger bulk. Like he's got some size on him for playing safety. But we had a difference. And you played for Coach Fickle. And I always said Fick was kind of just an extension of kind of what Mark D'Antonio is. And we were playing Wisconsin my sophomore year. We ended up losing up there, and Chris was playing corner. And like halftime at defense, when we were losing was not a fun situation, especially if like we weren't playing well on the defensive side of the ball, and we weren't playing bad. But Chris would by his sophomore year, he was primarily defense, played a little offensive spot shot. But Chris at halftime of the Wisconsin game tried to like go over with the offense. And D'Antonio's like, where's Chris? Where he's like looking. And so it's like, I think he's with the offense. He's like, oh hell no. You go get him, get his butt over here right now. He's like, he is a primarily defensive player. Don't give him like there's no outs on this. And I know why. Everyone looked like, hey, dude, if I could slide over to that side,
That's
we're,
amazing.
we're gonna do that because Dino was fine and he's just looking. You may have played three plays and he's gonna know you could have done this and this and this. And it was just rip down, tear down steady. So CG was kind of a unique beast. Um, maybe Caleb Downs could do a little of that, but it was really more out of necessity because we didn't have any other corners. But we got a corner coming up and a darn good one. Most likely, I think a first round NFL draft pick, hopefully an All American. One of my favorite guys on the team. Watching his maturation process has been awesome. Denzel Burke joining the program next. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and pleased to be joined by another Buckeye. I mean, we've had Cody Simon on, we've had Donovan Jackson on. Oh goodness, some former players, and now another member, Lathan Ransom, another member of BIA, Best in America back there, Denzel Burke. Denzel, thanks for spending some time with us today, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm glad to be here.
So just kind of diving into this, dude. I want to go back to like the beginning of your story here at Ohio State because we had Trey on as
Yeah.
well, and I feel like you guys have had kind of a similar path. Huge freshman years, sophomore years probably not as good as you would have liked. A little bit nicked up, played really well last year, but also the maturity that I've seen happen. But starting back, man, all the back when you first decided to come to Ohio State. I mean, you're a West Coast guy, you're an Arizona guy. What drew you to Ohio State initially?
Well, so my whole class was COVID year, so I really didn't have any official visits or anything like that. So it really just came down to really two schools. It was Oregon and Ohio State. And, Ohio State's Ohio State. And it was kind of really my biggest offer and probably the only school that was really paying attention to me. And, I played receiver too. And I was kind of barely making the transition of going over the corner. And, Ohio State has a history of first round corners. And, I've always been a hungry, determined guy. So I feel like Ohio State was the best position for me going.
So you didn't get recruited by like USC or any like the like I mean Oregon obviously, but no one else on the West Coast was really pursuing you like that?
Yeah, they were pursuing me. It was just I wasn't really feeling them, honestly.
Okay.
I feel like we weren't really eye to eye. I feel like my goals in line up with their goals. So and I want to be able to come to a school where I compete daily and get better and go against the best receivers, the best offense in the nation. So, Ohio State was the best place for me. Coach Hartline, I don't know if you guys know this story, but Coach Hartline recruited me first at receiver, and then he called me up, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to go to corner." And then he connected me to Coach Coombs, and then ever since that, it's been a blessing. So, yeah.
All right, so you talked a little bit about the lineage at Ohio State, first round cornerbacks. What is it like for you being in a place where you know that standard's so high that there's a legacy and you got to live up to that?
Yeah, man. I wouldn't really say it's too much pressure because at the same time, it's what I want. But just being here and trying to uphold that standard, especially after my sophomore year, we kind of lost that, and it's probably the worst feeling I've ever felt. And I was going through a hard time in my life then. Even coming into the Woody, it was hard even coming into the Woody, and then you get the looks, around the building. Because at the end of the day, it's the business, and you got to perform. And it was hard. I had to look in the mirror my junior year, coming into my junior year, and really change some things. And thank God we actually brought it back, and now this year we got to keep it up and even elevate it to another level, be elite this year. And I feel like we're not gonna have any problems. God willing, I stay healthy and everything like that. But it's just go out there and have fun and do me.
You
Let's
said
talk
you had
about
to change some things real quick. What things did you change? Like how did your habits, your routines change?
Really just being consistent in all areas of my life, man, and really taking care of my free time, being intentional with my free time, and really just being all about ball. I guess you could say, like, after my freshman year, I got really complacent because I'm an 18-year-old kid from the West Coast. I come in starting as a true freshman. I played 12 games straight. I had an amazing season. And I guess you could just say my work ethic kind of went down the drain a little bit going into my sophomore year. And two, I got hurt, and I really didn't have no foundation at all. So I'm really just on the sideline thinking, oh, yeah, I'm going to be good, when I get back, da-da-da. And that wasn't the case, man. And, yeah, it was tough, but, we're here now.
so you talk about that. It was because you and Trey kind of a similar situation, man. Both of you guys bust onto the scene, played really well. And then at sophomore seasons, that happens. They call it the sophomore slump where, you don't know what you don't know in life.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you're 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And like looking back now, you're going to be a senior. You've got a bunch of guys that all decided to come back. What would you have told yourself then, that 18-year-old kid, knowing now coming through all of this?
Man, I would have just told him and stay hungry, stay on it. Because there's always that when that next guy, he's gonna come into the door just like me, and he's gonna try to take your spot. And it's just a matter of just waking up and knowing that I got people depending on me back home, and I'm the first guy in my family that's in this type of position to be able to set his family up for life. So it was just a matter of, and I got a newborn now, so it's different. I would have just told him like, it's all on the table, it's right there in front of you, man, and just go get it. It's right there.
Yeah, I got a newborn too. The lifestyle's a little bit hectic, but it does put that drive inside of you. So definitely
Yeah.
something to look forward to. Now, you talked about the competition, right? Going up against the best wide receivers every day in practice. It was something I appreciated when we played. Our offensive line was phenomenal. We had great running backs. So as a linebacker, I felt like I was getting the best reps possible every day in practice. Take us into the practice field. Like, what is the competition like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's been crazy ever since my freshman year. We had Garrett Wilson, we had Chris Olave, we had Young Marvin, we had Jackson. And, they used to tear me up. but I never really backed down. You know, they really got me better. And as soon as I gained my confidence, you know, I flipped the script a little bit. And it's been great. And now we got a young Julio Jones on our roster now, you know, Jeremiah Smith. And he's one hell of a player, man. And when I say that he's one hell of a player, he's one hell of a player. And he's going to help us win games. And, you know, I got a feel for him in the spring now. So now coming into the fall, it's going to be a lot more fun. And I'm so excited for fall camp and for this season, man, and what we're going to do. So, yeah.
So you said you played receiver. Coach Hartline was recruiting you there. You look at the guys that he's brought in at receiver. I mean, what was the change that you wanted to play defensive back over receiver? And do you think you would have been able to play receiver in that room right here with the guys he's rolling in?
Yeah, most definitely. You know, I probably wouldn't have came in and started as a freshman, but yeah, I definitely would have been able to play receiver, especially with Coach Hartline and what he teaches them. I feel like my game would have been through a roof. And you know, in high school, I would just take the top off defenses. I was really fast. I was the deep threat, and I felt like if I was here, I probably would have been moved to slide a little bit. I probably would have had even a lot more fun. But yeah.
All right, all right. Well, good deal here. We're going to take a quick break, but we got more with our guy Denzel Burke after this. Welcome back in to the show here, and thank you for watching. We got our guy Denzel Burke sharing some of his stories, his journey at Ohio State. And Denzel, I want to talk about like your teammates now, and you know we've had Lathan on. You know he's another Arizona guy. When you guys have been here, I know he's a year older. Was there a connection at all? You know, coming in knowing that you know he's kind of from a similar situation, coming from the West Coast, and all you guys kind of came in under that weird COVID situation.
Yeah, we knew of each other, but we never really had that connection or that relationship. I guess he was 2 hours from where I was from. He went to Tucson, it's a whole another city, and but we knew each other. It kind of helped. But when I came in, I was really just with the freshmen and stuff like that. Kind of just hung with my group, you know, try to build that relationship because you know he already had his friends and stuff like that. So it was just a matter of just smoothly gathering my feet and just making my way. But yeah, we're friends now, and it's been good.
And one of the big storylines this offseason has been about the quarterback competition there. You're a guy who has to face all of them in practice. So from your perspective, what do those guys bring to the table?
They're all different in their own way, honestly. You know, Will Howard, he's way different than Devin Brown. Devin Brown's way different than Julian Saying. And, you know, they all have their special, unique talents. It's kind of hard to say who's going to be our number one right now, but I kind of have an idea who's probably going to be our number one. Probably going to be Will, obviously. But you know, it was good spring. You know, I'm like the defense. We got after them a little bit, and it's been different for them because they've never seen this type of defensive structure and the type of players that we got now. And you know, it's gonna be fun going into fall camp, see them guys compete. It's kind of cool. You know, they all hang with each other, even though they're competing for a spot. You know, for me, I would I wouldn't be hanging with the guy I got to compete with, you know, for a starting spot. But you know, it's gonna be cool, man, to see who comes out on top, man. I'm really excited. You know, they all look hungry. You know, especially in these workouts, I kind of see a little of that dog in some of them, and you kind of get a feel of what type of player they're gonna be or who they are gonna be. But it's cool, man, and I'm excited.
What you talked about stepping back up again your junior year, reigniting that fire. Transfer portal makes things different. Guys are coming and going now. One of the guys that came in from Ole Miss, who I've really enjoyed watching, he's not the most talkative dude, but he does talk a lot of trash on the field, is Davidson Igbenusson, IGB. What is him sliding into your position group? What has that done for you, and what's that like with the friendly competition?
To be real, be transparent, like I'm thinking he's coming in to take a spot. So especially me going into my junior year, I was like, oh yeah, we're bringing another corner right now. Okay. So I had to step it up a little bit. And it's kind of funny. Me and him actually had that conversation. And you know, he's brought a lot of energy to our group. You know, he's an Iron Buckeye. You know, he's wearing number 1. And you know, it's great to have him on our team. He's helped us bring back BIA, and he's a great player, great physical player. And I'm glad we got him, man. He's a dog.
Now, you know, you mentioned the defense during the spring, how well you guys played. We're looking from the outside, and we're saying that this could be one of the best Ohio State defenses we've seen in a while. And I know as a player, you got to take it day by day, practice by practice. How do you guys handle the expectation that's been set for what this year should look like on defense?
Man, the stakes are high, man. And, we're not trying to leave nothing out the window. We're trying to take it all in. And, our defense this year is going to be, it's going to be nice. We got a lot of guys moving around. It's going to be a lot of different looks. It's going to be scary for offenses and especially for the quarterbacks. And trying to diagnose what we're in or what we're doing. Our job is really just to dictate the offense or dictate what the offense can do. And, it's my second year or third year into the system now. So it's going to be amazing. And especially with the guys we got a lot of veterans. And I feel like there's really not that much pressure. I just feel like we just got to go out there and do what we know we can do and really just wipe dudes off the table, like leave no doubt at all, and really just blow them out. That's the plan.
So we're talking about that, obviously building. You talked about, Davidson being an Iron Buckeye. I was talking with Lathan the other day, and I watched you guys. And Joshua, I don't know if you've seen this. Mick's got this new conditioning deal where it's the fan bikes. On Tuesday, they line up about 20 rows of fan bikes. You have three guys deep. It's straight up winner, loser, 10 seconds on. Next guy comes, third guy, but it's every 20 seconds you're rolling through. Tell me about this fan bike workout, Denzel. And are we coming out on top? And who do you generally go against?
It's they try to switch it up. Sometimes it'll be a DB versus DB, but now it's really just DBs versus a receiver. And it's tough. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. I think last Tuesday or this last Tuesday we did 11 reps on the bike. It was tough. I'm talking about when you're like wheezing after. I wasn't wheezing, but I try to keep myself in good shape. But it's tough. But it's cool to have that winner loser mentality to be able to you either win or you lose, and it's kind of cool that we kind of brought that into play these last 2 years, and it's kind of helped us as a team. And some old standards. I'm pretty sure you guys used to do that back then, Bobby, and you too, Joshua. And yeah, man, it's good to be able to see that and see who got some dog in them.
Yeah, if it's one thing about Mick is he's always going to find something new to throw at you, and it's like part of the philosophy is to keep you on edge because in the game you never know what's coming your way. So definitely great to hear that about the training. But I want to take it outside of football here for a second. Been asking all the guys, it's summertime. You got a little bit more free time on your hands. Some guys, they sit at home and they stream television shows. Other guys, they're out on the golf course, which was not a thing that we really did when I was playing there. So how are you occupying your time this summer?
Man, I'm a huge golfer.
Really?
Huge. Only been playing. I've played inconsistently 8 months, but for the past 2 months, almost like every day when I got some free time, and really helps me with my mental. It's fun. It doesn't make any sense, man. The ball doesn't move, and it shouldn't even be that hard, but it's hard. Yeah.
Is there anything more
amazing.
frustrating? Yeah, like anything more frustrating you've done in your life? Because I mean, anybody who's playing college football, especially in the back seven, like you can move, you can do a lot of stuff, you can play a lot of sports. But I told some like golf, I can go practice every day for 2 months and not get any better, and maybe some days be worse. It drives me
exactly.
nuts.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. But it's one hell of a game. I plan on playing it for the rest of my life. And, the connections I've built and the connections I'm gonna build, continue to play this game. It's amazing. My dad, he put me onto the game at first. I was a little, timid about the whole situation, but I love it now. I'm obsessed with the game. It's like my second love.
It's an interesting thing because I got on it as well after I stopped playing, and I feel the same way about it. I'm not good at all. It frustrates the hell out of me. I really enjoy it. My dad tried to get me on it early on too, but it's definitely a way, like you said, to control your mind and to really start to network and build with people as well. But the controlling your mind part I think is intriguing because the game of football is what you have to do all the time. So just year to year for you, how have you gotten better at the mental aspect of the game of football?
I really would just say it came with age, man, and knowing what this game can do to you mentally, and what the Ohio State Nation can do to you mentally, and being able to see all the tweets, all the fans going crazy, the media, they always got their part to say, and it's been good. I feel like I'm at a space right now where like nothing can really face me. I've kind of been through it all, and I'm at a point in my life where like um, I'm determined to do whatever's in front of me and what I want to do in my life, and nothing's gonna get in the way of my goals. So it's a matter of taking every day serious, continue to put in the extra work, and not just yourself, but bring someone else along with you too.
So, what's your relationship been like with Coach Walt? I mean, he played here. I played on a team when he was our D-backs coach in Detroit. I think he's a very, very special coach. But you were recruited by Kerry. Now you're playing for Tim. What has that been like with him and his coaching style and your relationship?
Yeah, man, it's been amazing. All respect to Coach Coombs and Coach Barnes, but I feel like if I would have had him my freshman year, oh my goodness, it would have been a whole different story. He's one hell of a coach, and he's really helped me elevate my game to a whole another level. He's been in the league for 12 plus years, and I saw the game from a different perspective, and he kind of made the game easier, honestly. And I never seen it like that. And to be able to be reactive, be more proactive in the game, he's taught me that. Be able to read 3-step, break on the ball, process routes, stuff like that. It's kind of crazy. He's helped my game a lot, and he's a big factor of why I had a great junior year.
Before we get you out of here real quick, one of the other guys that came in that everybody's talking about, he's been more of a quiet guy and integrating in, but Caleb coming in and being able to play safety, everybody talks about him being a freak athlete. What's he bringing to the table?
Honestly, man, he's different. He's me and the guys kind of make jokes on the team like he's our co-defensive coordinator. And he's a hell of a player. He's mentally strong, mentally sharp, and in our meetings he'll just bring up things like doesn't even go through some of our minds, and he's gonna help us. He's gonna help us win it all.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, Denzel. I really appreciate you taking some time, man. It's been great to get everybody to get to know you and get some exposure. So we appreciate it, taking some time with us. We got more coming back on the Bobby Carpenter Show after this. All right, welcome back into the program, man. How great was Denzel Burke? It's awesome, Joshua, listening to these guys and hearing their stories and the acknowledgement of, yeah, I had a really good freshman year. And then I just thought I was going to have a really good sophomore year because I had a good freshman year. And you forget that work and you see that sophomore slump, and to hear him be honest about it was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I say this every time, but I feel like these guys are pretty remarkable for the stage that they're at in life. And they've all been pretty candid, probably because, they know us a little bit and feel comfortable. But he really went there and talked about his journey. And I don't think a lot of guys like talking about the points where they were down in life and admitting the fact that they got complacent. They probably thought that they were too good to be coached the way that they were being coached. Absolutely loved it. My other big takeaway from these guys, man, a lot of golf going on. It's a
Yeah.
different type of locker room, man, because back in the day, like it was only a handful of us. And these dudes, they're out there. He said he tries to go every day. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like, I mean, they're playing nice courses too. I mean, they have little tournaments. And I wanted to
They
ask
got a
like
little
who he
money in their
plays with.
pocket to play nice courses.
Well,
So,
100, they got money, and then they're like probably like Barkley and Jordan out there too, betting on these thinking
oh
things,
yeah.
throwing down C notes on the tee box. So it's a nice little deal for them. But yeah, Mecca plays a lot. I'll try to get him on here because he's a great guy too. But all these guys, they all play a ton of golf. Another corner though, that great guy, teammate of yours, is playing in the UFL, playing really well, and you said he's going to get back. He's going to make it back. Garyon Conley made it back, signed with the Dallas Cowboys. He was playing with the DC Defenders, the Greg Williams in the UFL. I think this is the UFL. I hope it continues to thrive. And the numbers on TV viewing is pretty good. It's getting about 1 million people viewing games, especially when you talk about Stanley Cups getting about 3 to 4 million for average games. So people are watching because it gives guys like Garyon a pathway back who maybe that first stint in the NFL didn't go as planned.
Yeah, I mean, and Garyon was a guy who he had a plan. Like he set a plan in motion, said what he wanted to do. Now he's doing it. And I watched some of the games, certainly saw some of the highlights there. He played really good football. And I think that's what a lot of these guys are trying to do. This league was marketed as having player 54, right? So like these guys are NFL caliber guys. They're just, they were on the outside looking in when it came to final roster cuts. And it's a high quality product. And a lot of guys who are trying to make their way back into the NFL through reps and through development. And that's what we're seeing here. And I think it is a really good product for fans too, because it gives you a different window into the game with some of the access that's allowed there, the interviews that go on the sidelines, the idea that you can hear into the headset, and even some of the different rules, although they might be a gimmick, they don't feel super gimmicky. So it's been great, but watching a guy like Garyon go out there and ball is exactly why this league is here.
It's tremendous, and happy for him to get back. It's very exciting. He's a really good dude. And
Yeah.
oftentimes you see that, like your first stop, you don't get developed, it doesn't work. Now there's a pathway back, and great to see that. And honestly, some of those gimmicks are going to start infiltrating the NFL, just like the kickoff. It was kind of their the genesis was in the UFL for kind of a lot of what they've done. The kickoff changes this year. We mentioned a couple weeks ago, Braxton Miller, two-time Silver Football winner, quarterback with you, receiver going into the Ohio State Athletics Hall of Fame. A couple other guys, teammate of mine, Matt Wilhelm, is going to be joining. He was maybe I think our leading tackler on the 2002 National Championship team, first team All-American. Jeff Logan, who was in the backfield with Pete Johnson, Corny Green, Archie Griffin, and he was the other guy back there. I think he had 1,200 yards his senior year on those dynamic offenses. So good to see a couple other football players getting inducted, as well as Gene Smith, who was the AD for about 20 years here.
Yeah, I mean, Gene, number one, phenomenal, certainly deserves to be. And I talk about him all the time, but he was a guy who I feel like was the right type of athletic director. He played sports, he coached for a little bit, so he knew what it meant to be in locker rooms, but he also connected with every athlete that was on campus. This is a big athletic department, so it's hard to do, but, spent a lot of time with us. He's a guy who I could text right now if I need anything, and he would help out. And then Wilhelm is a guy who I've gotten to know over the last handful of years. Who's a phenomenal human. But back to your point, you flip on the tape and watch the dude go out there and have like 121 tackles or whatever the case was, bunch of TFLs in there. Like, dude was a monster, big linebacker. They don't make him anymore. And so I certainly appreciate what he did out there.
Yeah, and Matt's son playing at St. Ed's, playing tackle, and so
he's a big kid.
Offensive tackle, huge, yeah. Probably college prospect. I think he'll be a junior this year on a couple of their state championship teams, and they've cranked out a couple of guys at Ohio State already off that offensive line. But happy to see that for Matt. And it's funny, I did not like Matt when we played my freshman year. He was a senior, and he was hard on AJ and I. And you don't really understand like how guys are going to bust balls and how tough they're going to be. But it really hardened me in the locker room. And now we're great friends. Like, and once he went on, and it was good, I respected it all. But like that first time you're in the locker room, Joshua, you don't really get it. You don't understand it. And Matt was not about to pull any punches for anyone. And frankly, like they do that because he knew AJ and I, we played some like critical moments during that run. And my dad said they have to be able to trust you. And the only way they will trust you is by challenging you in there and to see how you respond. So you got to be able to kind of take it all in, take a deep breath, not snap back, and continue to go out there and play. So pretty great. Coming up, we got one of our favorite segments, Tailgate Talk. We'll answer questions from the listeners. It's going to be brought to you by Garage Beer. Kelsey Brothers just hopped on that, which is tremendous as well. So excited about that. And speaking of beer sales at Ohio State, where do they rank nationally? What's the price? How does that look? We'll get into that next here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and thank you for tuning in. Had a big show with Denzel Burke. Was on here, fantastic. And I always want to call him Denzel Ward, and their play styles, Joshua, kind of remind me of similar builds, just kind of how they go about it. Great guy, great young man. And excited to have him on here. If you're watching, thank you. Subscribe on YouTube, leave comments, questions, all your stuff there so we can have some interaction. I always enjoy going back and reading the comments, Joshua. They're fun and entertaining after I've had a couple of drinks on a Friday night. But now we got Tailgate Talk. Questions from the listeners brought to you by Garage Beer. June is Steel Month, and our friends at Garage Beer are partnering with Heinen's to help you celebrate. You can save $2 when you buy a 12-pack of Garage Beer in any Heinen's steak. Send us a pic of your best grill setup on social media, and we will select our favorite ones to receive some cool prizes from our friends at Garage Beer. Now, speaking of Garage Beer, I know a lot of people always talk about beer in the games. It was a big deal to get beer in Ohio Stadium. Took a minute. They were able to get that done. And so there was a deal that was pushed out where I believe Tulane was championing that they had the cheapest beer. So season ticket holders sign up today. They had $3 beers. So, in classic fashion, in a way that only another Louisiana school can do it, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns hold my beer, literally and figuratively. We're going to get you Natty Lights cans for $2 in stadium. I said, I don't know if you get much better than that, and you're going to get a well-hydrated fan base, Joshua.
Man, well hydrated. That's the thing I'm thinking about because the folks I know from Louisiana already know how to get after it. Now you're offering them $2 natty lights, and those things go down pretty damn easy. Those are going to be some fired up games there. But I feel like college football, beer, they go together. The only issue is some of these stadiums want to charge you a little bit too much.
They do. And so, I'm glad you went to that. So, Ohio State, for their average beer prices, it's basically right in the middle. It's $8. And by the way, you can get garage beer, I think lime in stadium, by the way, which is tremendous. Just like a little hint of lime, not too sweet. But it's $8, which is kind of right in the middle. Boston College, Oklahoma State, Texas, Texas Tech, UNC, LSU, all around, all at $8. Cincinnati at 750, which Nipper Stadium, Joshua. I went down there to watch my brother when I was playing in college. I think my junior year, he was a freshman. So we played at noon. They played at 3:30, or maybe it was a night game, and maybe like a 4:30, weird start time. I go down there, I'm watching these people with cups of beer sitting in the stands. I'm like, what is going on? This is 2004. And my dad goes, oh yeah, you can drink beer here. I'm like, what? Hold it. I'm running up there, boom. Ran into some of my friends from high school. This is great. I'd come to all these games. Uh, but and it wasn't bad. It was maybe $6 back then, $5. But Tennessee coming in, the Volunteers, they got a 110,000 seat stadium, $13 a beer, Joshua. I mean, my goodness, they are raking you over the coals.
I mean, they got to be selling something highfalutin, Stella in the glass or something because $13 for a beer is absolutely nuts. I went to a Mud Hens game last weekend and you could get like the 16-ounce beer for $9. Felt like that was a pretty
Yeah,
good deal. $13, I'm not buying that.
even if it's a 16-ounce beer, which I'm guessing it is, I'm hoping it is, because you better not be charging more than $1 an ounce for beer, but that's still like 80 to 90 cents an ounce. I mean, that's an expensive shotgun if you're going to suck it down pretty quick.
Yeah, it is. I saw some other ones too, just doing some research. Big House, they're charging a little bit more for some beer as well.
Yeah, they're up there a little more. Michigan, it's at $10. UCLA and Colorado come in at second with 12. Interestingly enough, Minnesota and Rutgers at $11 a beer. And if I'm Rutgers, like Greg Schiano's got to get control of this and say,
Yeah,
hey, we want to fill this place up. They've got a pretty good team this year. They beat
they
Miami
do.
in the bowl game. Like, let's sell beers to our students. You show your student ID, you get beers for $5 or something like that.
Oh man, you should be working on the marketing team there at Rutgers because that's one I could get behind. And I'm sure Greg would love to have that going on there. The UCLA number, not surprising. It's the West Coast. Everything is expensive out there. If I'm going to a UCLA game, I am betting that I'm going to have to spend a little money anyway.
So this is one of the things, Joshua. I was an economics undergrad, and I always love trying to find like price equilibrium of what would be the perfect point. Like, can you sell 10 beers and make $2 a piece on them? Or could you sell 40 beers and make only $1 a piece? And like trying to figure out that pricing model of like what your profit margin needs to be, how you can get the volume versus trying to have that margin in there and find as you go back to always the supply and demand, that
Sure.
equilibrium curve. And so it's interesting because like you've got Kansas and Kansas State, they're selling beer for $6. Wake Forest, Louisville, Oregon, $5 beers like that. I mean, that if I'm a student, that's pulling me into the game instead of me having to pack my pockets with airplane bottles.
Now, I did see the NFL version of this one. I think down there in Cincinnati, they're selling them for $5 a beer as well. So they got that thing figured out.
Really? Holy
Hmm.
smokes. That is you get them $5. You know what? You get a fun fan base, you get a loud stadium, and you know what? That's the way to do it. All right, we're gonna put a bow on this. We got our final segment coming up. Typico little Stanley Cup action, game 7. You love a game 7 in the finals, and especially in hockey. We'll talk about that coming up next. Welcome back into the show. We got the Tipico betting segment, Tipico Sportsbook. They're going to change the way you bet with their new Tipico Rewards program. I've been telling you about it each and every week. The more you bet, the more you earn, the more you win. Get up to 5% cash back on your bets. Be sure to check out our daily Big Play Boost, giving you the best odds on parlays on Ohio sports. And don't forget to follow along with your favorite Big Play personalities on social media. Lock in your bets with us all week long. Must be 21 years old to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Stanley Cup. Looked like it was in the books. Edmonton in game 5 said, we're going to drag you back up there, Florida. We're dragging you back up to the middle of Canada. It's like 2,500 miles away from South Florida. They did it. They win the game on Friday night. I think 5-1. It was 3-1 with about 4 minutes off. I kind of bailed at that point. Game 7, Oilers, they're getting a goal and a half. Over under for the total is 5.5 goals. I feel like at this point, Joshua, like if you're going to give me a goal and a half with the Oilers, I might take it, and I might even take them on the money line.
Yeah, I think I might take them on the money line too. Maybe that's just me hoping that they could pull this reverse sweep off. That would be something phenomenal to see. But they've been playing really well. I mean, Connor McDavid, I don't know what you do about that guy. They've talked about him as generational. He's lived up to being generational. Win or loss, I think he wins the Conn Smythe as the playoff MVP, and he deserves it. I mean, this is all the drama though. This is what we wanted to see. I'm excited about it.
Did you see the one assist he had, I think, in game 5, where he splits the two defenders and then dishes it right across the goalie's face
Yes.
for a goal?
like 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 how I'm watching this highlight and like every time watching I'm like how and
Yeah.
that's what he does. That's the expectation for him.
And it's remarkable because I want to say he broke Gretzky's assist record he broke something of Gretzky's, I want to say recently in this playoffs, which when you start talking about Wayne Gretzky, more than any other sport, he has numbers in there that you're like, this, I don't even know how you would get to that. You could play for 20 years, 30 years and not be able to get there. So the fact that he's hovering around that, he's a Canadian guy in a market like Edmonton, where it's a collegiate atmosphere there. Those folks, you saw, they were standing the whole game.
Yep.
They want this. They're going back to Florida. But, I mean, dude, if you're on the Panthers, I don't know how you get your mind right for this game.
I think it's already in the tank, right? Like the idea that a lot of us were talking about two sweeps in the NHL and
Yeah,
the NBA, and Celtics figured their thing out. I think they just wanted to go back to Boston and win it. But now we're sitting here with a game 7. I think they got to be cooked mentally.
that's what I mean. You've been in games before, and I tell someone like the worst thing you can be in a sport is have a big lead and like you feel that tidal wave of energy from the opposition. And a lot of times, just within a single game, you're like, well, let's just manage this, run out the clock, especially when you're on the road, like just find a way to get the win because you're not playing not to lose, but you're not near as aggressive as you were before. But in this situation, like it's just been game, game, game. And now, especially with your goalie and Bobrovsky, maybe they're in his head a little bit, like giving up a lot of goals. Matthews is on fire. Everybody's feeling good. And game 7s are electric. This is going to be one for the ages, Josh. We're very excited about it. Excited about today's show as far as what we've got here. Denzel Burke, phenomenal. We say it every week. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for coming on, Joshua. Tune in next week for the Bobby Carpenter Show.